Well, you know, I love this sport. I love the feelings that it gives me. In this life, you know, you can get material wealth, you can get all sorts of things, but the real treasure, I think, is these feelings. And to me, this is a feeling I'll treasure forever.
For some men, there are no limits.
When you think of arm wrestling, there is one name that is guaranteed to come to mind: Devon Larratt. Devon Larratt is an athlete who has had one of the most incredible, legendary arm wrestling journeys out of anyone on the planet. He is a legend of the sport whose passion helped to shape it into what it is today. And in this video, I would like to present to you why his nickname No Limits couldn't be more accurate. After weeks of research, writing, filming and editing, I believe I've managed to document the entire career of one of the greatest to ever step up to the table. This is without question the most action-packed, detailed and complete video I've ever created. I'm Blackbird and welcome to the entire journey of Devon Larratt. So like and subscribe and let's get right into it. Devon Larratt was born on April 24th, 1975 in Victoria, Canada. From a young age, Devon was drawn to arm wrestling, with his first and perhaps most formidable opponent being his own grandmother. Devon never managed to beat her, and fun fact:
You guys know what my grandmother's name was? No shit. Levan.
his fascination with strength sports deepened when he met professional arm wrestler Dion Langell while working in the oil fields. Dion introduced him to arm wrestling as a competitive sport, and from that point on, Devon dedicated himself to developing both his strengths and his technique in the sport. Shortly thereafter, he joined the Canadian military, an environment that recognized his potential and at times even sponsored his participation in WAF championships. Devon made his first mark on the competitive scene in 1999, capturing first place at the Canadian National Championships. That same year, he also stepped onto the international stage at the WAF World Championships in Japan. There, he defeated Krister Johnson, but fell to John Brzenk, ultimately securing third place in both the left and right-handed 100 kg competitions. Around that time, the young Canadian would go on to join the Special Forces, a career path that would allow him to continue competing off deployment. And over the following years, he steadily established himself as one of Canada's top arm wrestlers. One of the most memorable moments of this period came in 2004, when Devon faced none other than the perfect storm, John Brzenk. At this stage in his career, Devon's style focused heavily on the inside game, testing his frame, engaging the shoulder and controlling his opponents with relentless side pressure. The round was a grueling one, with Devon doing everything in his power to get deep in, almost managing to put John in trouble, but not quite. Another unforgettable match took place against Ron Bath, ranked number 3 in North America at the time at Mike Gould Classic. The atmosphere there was electric, almost warlike. Devon, experimenting with his top rope, found it ineffective in this match. Even though he managed to crack Ron's wrist, Ron then countered with a flop. Undeterred, he reverted back to his signature move, committing his shoulder, cupping in and securing the hook. There he managed to overpower Bath with his sheer inside strength. Devon's technique was further showcased at the 2006 vendetta against Taras Ivaikin. Here his approach was meticulous. He committed his shoulder, worked to control the wrist, and only once he secured the wrist, he could deliver the win. Without the wrist control or shoulder engagement, there was no success. The first peak of this era came in 2008, when Devon Larratt faced John Brzenk for the title of the world's #1 arm wrestler. The match was a masterclass of pure power and skill. In the first round, Devon executed a flawless top roll. In the second, Brzenk countered, forcing Devon inside, but even there, Devon posted up, he transitioned into a high hook, and eventually then reversed to the outside and pinned John.
And Johnny's having to pull through his entire arm now to get a result, and Devon...
By the third round, he started inside, and Devon once again reversed out into a top roll. By the fourth round, Brzenk was already fatigued, and Devon secured a flash pin. The final rounds were just formalities. With a clean 6-0 sweep, Devon Larratt not only cemented his status as the world's #1 right-handed arm wrestler, but also became the first person in 25 years to defeat Brzenk in a super match. After defeating the Perfect Storm 6-0, Devon Larratt would emerge as an internationally recognized arm wrestler and the new #1 right hand in the world. He would get called on to defend that title at the ArmWars The Gathering, an 8-man best-of-7 super match featuring the greatest North American athletes of the time. These matches would showcase not only Devon's strength, but also the evolution of his stylistic thinking. It's also where Devon would reach his strongest inside form. His first opponent there would be the Leviathan Richard Lapkis, a 140-kilo monster of an arm wrestler who already had 30 years of experience at the time and who relied on his raw, unmatched power. With that, let's see how the match went. A quick outside slip and they go to the straps. In the straps, Richard drives with a top roll, but Devon immediately manages to set the match in the hook. Richard's arm slides down Devon's. Larratt's incredible side pressure stops the match in the center, slowly but surely wearing down Lapkis' arm, eventually overpowering the Leviathan. In the second round, Devon repeats the strategy, forcing Lapkis inside and driving with authority for another win. By the third round, with Lapkis fatigued, Devon shifts outside, combining back pressure, rise and pronation to dominate the hand and win with a top roll. In the remaining rounds, Devon was completely in control, winning 6-0 and advancing to the second round. Now here I could go on talking about the unbelievableness of this performance, but I think it's best to hear it from Richard himself.
The muscularity not able to assist him today.
Thank you. Never felt anything like that before.
In the second round of the tournament, Devon would be facing Tim Bresnan, another American legend who is known for great endurance as well as a tricky, hard-to-overcome arm wrestling style, similar to a Kingsmove. With that, let's see how Devon squares up to Bresnan. In the first round, Devon initially attempts an outside strategy, but quickly realizes he needs to switch inside. His pronator would fail in the top row. At first he manages to get it into the hook, but then he starts getting into trouble as his wrist starts cracking. He bails out, slips under and gets a running foul in the process. And we go to the straps. In the straps, the hook gets set.
That match, and it's another incredible hit from the American. He's opened the champion of the world. Larratt is shaking with intensity as he tries to contain the drive of Bresnan.
However, still Tim manages to overpower Devon with a vicious drive, taking the first round. In round 2, Devon re-establishes the hook with better wrist engagement this time, and when the match transitions to endurance, he proves second to none, leveling the score 1-1.
Find a hole as he found the hole of Bresnan, and is he about to bury him in it? There's the pin.
Over the next rounds, Devon always manages to contain Bresnan's hits and forces it inside. Eventually, he overpowers him with side pressure and ultimately cruises to victory again, winning 5-1 and advancing to the final.
Larratt drives to the side, he's bled out the big dog.
In the finals, he'd square up against Hollywood Don Underwood. In the previous rounds, Don Underwood smashed through Shikanai, then through Travis Bagent, and was coming in hot to the final. The final was a grueling and notoriously dirty match, with multiple flash pins but also elbow fouls from Underwood. Only in the last round did Devon manage to stop the hits. He stopped it inside and then dragged Underwood out of his position. Despite Devon's arms being really exhausted from previous matches, he still eked out the win and retained his super heavyweight world title.
Win!
Just a day after, Devon Larratt would have a super match against Travis Bagent, the then left arm number 1. In the first rounds, Devon initially tried going outside, but realizing the hand battle was unwinnable against Travis, he transitioned inside and engaged his shoulder. Once Devon set his power, he became virtually unbeatable, becoming the number 1 on the left as well as the right arm in the world. In all of these matches we can see how Devon Larratt thinks. His primary move always being the hook, utilizing his otherworldly side pressure, but occasionally working on a top roll as the second layer to his game. A stark contrast to his future career. Devon continued defending his right hand title in 2011 against Michael Todd, who was already at that time developing his signature Kingsmove style, as well as a horrible arm breaking press or hook. I don't even know what to call it, to be honest. Anyways, the match was a brutal test of both skill and endurance, full of fouls, restarts, and constant needs of adjustments. The first round already started off with a war, with Michael pronating into a Kingsmove, cracking the wrist of Devon, Devon trying to go inside, engage the shoulder, get the cup in. This stalemate would go on for a long time.
And we will see the cerebral techniques of the man from Ottawa, Canada. The high hooker has his hand exposed, and monster Michael Todd is on the offensive like never before. The veins in the neck of No Limits Devon Larratt are fit to burst. Monster Michael Todd with an enormous top roll drive, and the super heavyweight champion.
Michael managed to pin Devon with a well-timed press, taking an early 1-0 lead. However, Devon refused to give in. In the second round, he would change up his strategy, going for a top roll. But Michael would still crack Devon's wrist. Due to that, Devon would again readjust and start focusing on his rise. With that, he managed to regain the wrist, and he climbed so high that he literally walked right out of these straps, which forced a restart. Upon another go, Devon utilized the same strategy again. He started rising up as high as possible, then eventually engaged his shoulder and finally secured a pin. However, he was not out of the woods yet, as it was a running foul. Another restart, Devon has found the strategy. He starts rising up once again, climbing as high as he possibly can, then engaging the shoulder and opening the King's move of Michael Todd.
Keep doing it, so over. Here it comes.
Enormous drive. Surely he must finish the match from there. An impossible position.
The score is now even, 1-1. The third round, Devon applied the same technique. He rose steadily, maintained his pronator, and secured the cup. Michael repeatedly tried to flop him. However, Devon maintained the control, or did he? Michael here was clearly in an absolutely horrible position. His wrist was cracked, his arm was getting stretched out, his pronator was barely holding up, his riser was completely dumped, and when he tried engaging the shoulder, his arm kept getting outside of the shoulder line. A literal arm break mode. But here's one thing to know. You can never count Michael out.
If the man from Arkansas can find it, he may be alive, oh. So closely. Oh, look at the drive! Monster Michael Todd!
Out of an absolutely impossible position, Michael somehow managed to flop Devon. 2-1 Michael. The war was on. The fourth round started off with both athletes going into a top roll, then Michael attempting to press and Devon countering more aggressively this time, and once again evening the score, 2-2. The fifth round will tell us who is the winner. Off the go, Michael goes deep into the King's move, cracking Devon's wrist. However, Devon then regains it, starting to sweep to the side. He almost manages to pin Michael. Michael barely defends with a King's move and has a running foul in the process. Michael then tries going into a flop press, going into that arm break position once again, but Devon doesn't let him.
Must finish and does so. No limits. Devon Larratt with the win. Canada with the win.
keeping the super heavyweight world title. The 6th round is a victory lap for him. Devon holds the center, extends Michael, and it's done. This match once again highlighted Devon's not only endurance, but his ability to adapt on the fly, countering one of the most unorthodox and aggressive styles in the sport. In 2012, Devon would set his sight on the #1 left-hand spot as well. He won it against Travis in 2010 in the aforementioned match at ArmWars, but later lost it to Travis as well at UAL, a match he took on short notice. Later on, Travis would get beaten by Andrei Pushkar, a Ukrainian legend, so Devon was about to face him. It was a match that many thought he would lose, and after an initial flash pin from Pushkar in the first round, that's exactly what everyone thought as well. However, Devon would once again show why he is simply built different. In round 2, he managed to get deep stop outside, applying relentless back pressure, maintaining his pronator and systematically cracking Pushkar's wrist. We all know this from Devon's previous battles. Once Devon gets a stop, he is in control. And from that point on, Devon controlled every aspect of the match, winning 5-1 and becoming one of the first athletes in the world to hold both left and right hand World Championship titles. Later in 2012, Devon would also defend his title against Tim Bresnan. While Devon managed to take the victory in a controversial, closely fought battle, it became evident that his center table side pressure, the hallmark of his earlier dominance, was no longer at its peak. Last year, Devon completely dismantled Tim, and this time he fought for his life. And here's why. Years of intense training and the physical toll of arm wrestling eventually caught up with Devon. The repetitive stress on his elbows caused abnormal bone growth, which in turn began breaking apart, creating loose fragments in the joint. Chronic arthritis set in, inflaming the elbow and eroding the cartilage, causing painful friction between the bones and reducing his force output. To address these issues, Devon would undergo surgeries to remove the extra bone fragments and restore normal joint anatomy. And while this procedure left his arm healthier, it also compromised some elbow stability, severely weakening his inside game, a key component of his previous dominance. And it was unclear whether Devon would ever be able to return to the top. After recovery, Devon would join the WAL, determined to reclaim his status as both left and right arm champion. On June 7, 2014, at WAL Las Vegas, Devon would make his return to the competitive scene. On the left, he would win quite comfortably against Christian Binney, but on the right, he would struggle quite a bit more, as his hook power simply wasn't there. That same year, he would also attend the WAL 2014 championships, trying to reclaim back the left and right arm champion titles, and he would succeed on the left, the first round being a hook war,
Strategic move from the Brazilian.
and Devon transitioning into the top row in the second round and cracking Marcio's wrist, then transitioning to a press.
It's Devon Larratt. Larratt trying, and there's the attack. There's the second drive. There's the third. Comes around now and starts to engage the tricep. Surely he'll finish with the press. Marcio Barbosa.
But his right, arguably the arm that has received more damage, would fail again. And due to the same reason, the inside game simply wasn't there.
But the pad, or so it seemed, but it is the win! Oh!
The awkwardness of Devon's hook can be further seen in the 2015 WAL Championships. There in the semi-final, Devon, making his second attempt at the right arm title, faced off against the perfect storm, John Brzenk, someone he has already beaten comfortably in the past. But sadly this time, he simply wasn't doing as well. We can see that Devon tries to set the hook, but John is easily opening Devon up, and Devon literally goes into arm break mode, using all of his frame to get the win. He eventually wins on endurance, but barely.
Squeeze his opponent to the centre of the table. Presses up, trying to apply pressure into the hand and wrist of John Brzenk. Devon Larratt knows he's in control.
In the second round, John easily top rolls Devon, and third round, Devon tries setting the hook again, but his wrist gets absolutely cooked. With that, Devon doesn't even make it past the semifinals. The thing he excelled at for years, it seemed like it simply wasn't there anymore. But Devon wouldn't be done yet. The future would show that the nickname No Limits couldn't fit the Canadian any better. With his immense passion for the sport, Devon would dig in. He would rethink his approach, working on incorporating more and more of his outside game, while also trying to regain as much as possible of his previous legendary hook. He kept showing up, and he got better and better. In the 2016 WAL Heavyweight Finals, he faced Ron Bath, third attempt to reclaim what was once his. He had failed in 2014, in 2015. Third time's the charm. So could he finally do it? Well, let's take a look, shall we? Devon holds Ron's drive, and now it's gonna be about endurance. And when it starts being about endurance, you know who's got the edge. After a 1 minute bleed, it's 1-0. Now here's what the second round gave us. Devon hits with a decisive outside hit, winning the match. Devon was back on top, baby. Over the following years, Devon would start dominating again, refining his style, gradually incorporating more and more outside pulling. By 2018, he had already amassed over 15 consecutive WAL victories, securing both left and right arm WAL hammers, the trophies for the best arm wrestlers in the league. He repeatedly defeated names like Matt Mask,
1, 2, 3, what's up? Oh, one more round. One more year.
Marcio Barboza, and Georgi.
Wow. Way too strong, Devon said.
Yeah,
wow.
he is. Way too strong, Jerry.
Wow.
Way too strong.
This is so impressive.
firmly establishing himself once again as one of the greats at the top of the sport. One highly anticipated upcoming match would take place on September 5th, 2018. There, Devon Larratt was about to defend his heavyweight hammer against monster Michael Todd. Michael had become a highly controversial figure in the sport. Utilizing his trademark Kingsmove style, he proved to be a challenging opponent for anyone, and not many athletes managed to figure him out. Previously, we have discussed how Michael and Devon faced off years prior in 2011. There, Devon got the win. But it was an absolute war, and since then, Michael had perfected his Kingsmove. Devon's also gone on a change, going from a primarily hook-style puller to more of an outside one. With that in mind, let's see how the battle went. First round, Michael rotates and settles into his Kingsmove position. Now the main purpose of the Kingsmove is to crack an opponent's wrist. And when a person rotates in the way we can see Michael doing, dropping his shoulder, it enhances the strength of his pronator. So Michael drops the shoulder, maximizes his pronation torque, and we can see him actually manage to crack Devon's wrist. Now Devon also manages to keep his pronator and starts attempting to climb, the same thing he did the last time in 2011, trying to rise over Michael's hand. But we can see his riser this time isn't fully intact. Michael meanwhile calmly holds. Over the next seconds, Devon's arm angle, his back pressure starts to slowly open. With every second it looks like his arm is gonna gas out. Devon realizes that as well, so it transitions to a press.
Devon gonna try and press through. Wow! Are you kidding me?
And he actually manages to press through Michael's bone lock. 1-0 for Devon. Second round, Michael Kingsmove again, and Devon immediately tries going for the press. However, this time he is unable to break through the bone lock of Michael. He then tries reversing outside, utilizing his pronator, switching between pressing and pronating. Now we saw Devon's back pressure almost gas out last round, so we know that a press is gonna be his weakness from that point on. The first press attempt from Michael is blocked. Then Devon tries to get the shoulder in again, doesn't manage to press as well. He goes back to the top roll, his arm extending more and more. Then Michael tries going for the press again, and gets it. It's now even 1-1. Round 3, both athletes start outside, similar position as in the first round. Now Devon goes slightly on the defensive, keeping his arm angle close, trying to rise, keep the wrist, keep the pronator, and he then uses the shoulder to bring it back to center. Then again switches back to rising, but his wrist starts cracking. He realizes that he must press. He puts his whole body on the arm. And manages to press through once again. 2-1 Devon. Fourth round, Michael immediately shoots for the press, he catches Devon off guard and gets the round. Again evening the score, 2-2. The last round is gonna decide everything, the silver bullet. Off the go, Michael hits outside, and Devon immediately goes for the press, trying everything in his power, putting all of his effort into pressing through Michael's arm for the third time. Extend the bicep.
To come back. He must finish this arm wrestling match. He's committed, he's driven forward, there is nowhere to run. He's penned in, he's diving round the table, anything he can do to get...
However, he is unable to finish, and Michael incrementally rises. Little by little he gains more of Devon's hand. Michael then slowly comes to transition, trying to connect with his own shoulder. Devon is still trying to press, but his position, the center, is worse and worse for him. The clock is ticking, and the round starts being absolutely brutal.
But he has no feeling in that hand and wrist now. It was actually Devon's, the elbow kick. Talk about fight to the death. The match is over. Yeah. Looking good for the monster right now. This is an unbelievable arm wrestling match. The last time these men met, I told you earlier today, it was the best arm wrestling match I'd ever seen. This is the fight of the best one I've ever seen. Awesome. Big drive. Well, Michael goes to the side.
After 2 minutes and 22 seconds, Devon finds his limit and Michael presses down, ending the 13-match win streak. Someone having more endurance than Devon is rare, but Michael's efficiency did the job. A few months later at BAL at Arm Fight 50, Devon would suffer another devastating loss, this time against the Ukrainian Denis Cyplenkov. Denis overpowered Devon in all lanes, not showing any weakness, and it's also where Devon lost the left arm hammer as well. These losses forced Larratt to rethink his arm wrestling techniques and training philosophy once again in his career. On the 30th of January 2019, Devon would upload a video talking about the Kingsmove. It is something that would play a huge part in his later career. The first high-profile match where we can see the Kingsmove put into practice is at WAL 501 against Todd Hutchings. Now Todd Hutchings is an athlete who has mastered the ability to keep pulling effectively even without his wrist, utilizing the so-called Todd row, basically able to keep his pronator intact and side pressure strong even without the wrist. So let's take a closer look. Off the go, Devon immediately takes the wrist, but Todd, as I said, can pull without it, and he keeps stretching Devon's bicep out. Devon is then forced to rotate, and he actually pulls out a Kingsmove. And once Todd Hutchings tires out, Devon manages to put the shoulder behind, and it's 1-0 for him. Second round, Devon goes inside, sets the hook, believing he can match the power of Todd, but it's likely he realizes that a Kingsmove is much more efficient than the hook. So he decides to rotate out once again, cracks the wrist, he holds millimeters above the pin pad, eventually tightens, climbs up, slowly gets a better position and presses down. Third round, Devon sets up the shoulder forward and presses down right off the go. Todd's arm is likely already fatigued from the previous 2 rounds, and there was no way he had enough force to stop the drive. 3-0 Devon. Now this was a notoriously dirty match, which Todd Hutchings likely would have won by today's rules. However, that was WALD time, and this was the start of a new strategy for Devon Larratt. And he would go on to utilize it into an even more notoriously dirty match against Dave Chaffee. Already in the first round, it's clear that Devon is imitating what Michael did against Dave. He tries rotating out once he realizes he has no chance to hold Dave conventional, but he rotates too late and Dave powers through. 1-0 for Dave. Now with Devon knowing he has to fight dirty, let's see what the second round gave us. Ready go, and Dave again overpowers Devon, moving towards the pin pad swiftly. But now this time, Devon settles into the Kingsmove position quicker than last time. He drops his shoulder and manages to crack Dave's wrist. Dave repositions and hits again, but he is simply unable to keep his wrist. With every hit, he keeps getting stopped millimeters above the pin pad. Eventually we get to hear this beautiful stuff from Devon.
But right now, the road is bumpy, and Dave Chaffee.
And slowly but surely the horsepower of Dave diminishes, until he has nothing left. Once that happens, Devon stands up and forces Dave to give up. The third round, Dave hits, and actually hits a offensive Kingsmove.
Chaffee has tried to pull a Kingsmove.
Devon of course drops down as well, and he gets the hand control. Dave is simply unable to pin Devon, even if it's millimeters above the pin pad. Dave tries hitting again and again, but every time when Devon simply drops down, he can't get anything. I mean, that's just a beautiful arm wrestling right here.
Fight, and Devon Larratt is baiting him. He's talking to him. 3 fouls.
Fourth round, it's the same story. Devon stops it. It's a beautiful, beautiful double Kingsmove. Dave keeps trying to get deep in, but there is simply no way for him.
Dave looked for a way out in that match, Ben. That was very...
This was an unbelievably controversial win, and I think if anyone else did this except for Devon, there would be a ton of hate on that athlete. But damn, was it entertaining. Later Devon would also face someone on the left. He would face the Czech Jesus Wagner Bortolato, who's an absolute arm wrestling psychopath, and win quite convincingly. Going inside, even dead moving Wagner, but a little surprise happened in the third round.
It'll be very, very hard to finish Devon Larratt from there, but I'll tell you what, he's about to!
But Devon would then lock in, he forced it inside again and get deep in. 3-1 for him, easy win.
Very close that time, and I think that was the pin. Yeah.
Took care of it.
Following this match, the Kvikvinia virus broke out, and for the whole 2020 the events were practically non-existent. With nothing else to do, Devon would start training more, and also get a lot more active on social media, documenting his journey. Once the restrictions calmed down, a match was supposed to take place between Michael Todd, the holder of the Legacy Hammer, and Levan Saginashvili, the top 8 winner, regarded as the strongest in the eastern part of the world. They were supposed to face off for the #1 spot in the world, however, the match eventually fell through. KOTT1, the event that would put on the match, would start looking for a replacement for Levan, and the one who would fill in would be no other than Devon Larratt. It was a perfect chance for Devon to get back to the top, and Devon put a lot into his preparation for that match.
When we do come out of hibernation, there's going to be the people who kept on investing, who kept on working.
46. Somehow I've been given another opportunity to fight, another opportunity to step into the arena and live once again. There's nothing as good as fighting. See you on the 28th.
May 28th, 2021. King of the Table 1. Both athletes in absolute peak forms. The war is on.
It's about to...
Round 1, the match stops in the center, and unlike last time, Devon actually manages to keep his wrist, and he starts rising over the arm of Michael. Devon then has a running foul, so Michael eases up, and Devon then presses down. Now it's important to note that the rules are different in this match than the last time they faced. Michael isn't allowed to drop the shoulder below the table the same way he did before, as that would constitute a foul. On the restart, Michael drives harder. However, Devon easily holds center. He then puts incremental drives, and with every drive he cracks Michael more and more. Michael then repositions to the front. I believe that was likely a technical error. Maybe he tried going for the press. I'm not 100% sure. But once Michael did that, Devon immediately took advantage of it. He drove forward with shoulder engaged. Michael barely managed to stop it, just above deep in bed. Devon then positioned with the shoulder even better, while also keeping his wrist intact, which is incredibly impressive against Michael Todd. Devon keeps climbing.
And all the time, he's chipping away at the confidence and he's going to finish this match.
And eventually presses down 1-0 for Devon. Absolutely dominant showing from the Canadian.
Hey, Rebecca! You might want to cancel that summer trip.
Second round, Devon goes more forward. He keeps the wrist, he engages the shoulder immediately off the go.
Foul from Michael, that's not good at all. And Devon is still in a good position. Now Devon, interestingly, actually tried to close the gap a little there.
Starts driving. With every drive, gains more of his cup, puts it arm on arm, presses down. Once again, 2-0 Devon. Third round, Michael tries pressing, but that gets completely shut down.
Big drive.
Ooh. He went for the drive there, and it didn't.
Dramatic drive.
Devon gets into a good position and Michael concedes the round. Round 4 doesn't even get to these straps. Devon doesn't let Michael escape. He contains Michael, holds on to Michael's arm, something he is completely against in his arm wrestling theories. He gets the shoulder behind and then pronates, reverses outside, applies more back pressure to stretch the arm of Michael. Michael then attempts to press. Devon doesn't allow Michael to get there. I'll stop yapping and let you watch the rest.
A strap in.
That's the pin?
Yes, that's a pin. Yeah, that
Wow. And look how happy Devon is.
And it,
With that, he regains the #1 spot in the world, at least in the West. Michael later says that Devon's been the strongest arm wrestler he had ever faced. Continuing on with his momentum, Devon Larratt would move on to other challengers, facing John Brzenk, the GOAT, the perfect storm, once again, this time at King of the Table 2. A highly anticipated match between two legends. Off the go, in the first round, John hits, effectively taking the side, while also somehow managing to keep the wrist, and Devon is forced to Kingsmove to equal out the force of John.
tries to power down to the pad.
Devon stops it. He starts cracking the wrist. John tries hitting again, but the wrist gets compromised. John then attempts to get into a hook, but Devon doesn't let him.
Off into the hand of John Brzenk, and John is top.
1-0 Devon. Second round, Devon stops the likely gassed out John right from the start. He starts with his trash talks, holds John in the center, and John concedes the round. Third round, Devon flashpin, 3-0. Fourth round, Devon contains the back pressure of John, forces it into the hook.
John shoots in, but he's in a bad position there and he's chasing the hook. Trying to edge himself back in.
And wins even there, 4-0 Devon. Another dominant win, especially compared to the last time they faced in 2015. Finally, riding the momentum of his incredible form, Devon would go on to face the Georgian Hulk himself, Levan Saginashvili. Up to this point, Levan had annihilated every opponent placed before him, not dropping a single round. His dominance seemed untouchable, but now, standing across the table was Devon Larratt, in the best shape of his life, ready to do the impossible. For years, arm wrestling had been split into two worlds, the WAL in the West, dominated by American and Canadian athletes, and the BAL in the East, home to the European powerhouses. But with the rise of East versus West and King of the Table, these two worlds would finally collide. And this was the showdown that would finally answer the question everyone was asking. Who truly stands at the top of the arm wrestling world? With that, let's take a look at how the battle unfolded. The energy of the first round was insane. Devon starts off with his usual tactics, pulling early, trying to gain all the advantage he can. And then Levan responds to that with this surge. and I think that put fear into Devon's mind. Both athletes get fired up, and then the ready go happens.
Comfortably try to flame it up. Massive drive! Enormous hit!
And at first it looks like a flash pin, but upon slowing the clip down, we can see that Devon's pronation actually makes Levan's wrist buckle slightly. There's even a tiny stop just above the pin pad, where the forces evened out. Devon seems confident in his chances of bringing the match back, talking to Levan, taunting him, saying that he will teach him.
Something going.
I got this guy. I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna beat him. Mate, I was about to say the same thing. No limits, Devon Larratt. Now the ball.
Second round, Levan rips through Devon's defense, tearing his bicep in the process. And for the remaining rounds, there is simply no ability, no way for him to generate the same level of power. And Levan wins 6-0. This was likely one of the most brutal losses for Devon in his life, and it was unclear whether he could even return back to elite arm wrestling.
I walked away from the match, and that night was terrible. Oh my God, what a terrible night for me. I think I just laid in that shower and just thought I was the most horrible person in the world for like, oh my God, it was rough.
But if there's one thing that's already been made clear so many times throughout this video, it's that you can never count Devon out. Because what would follow this would be one of the most incredible arm wrestling climbs in the history of the sport. Before his clash with Levan, Devon Larratt's training focus would be directed mainly on heavy, high repetitions of pronation and rising. His initial goal was to have enough endurance to tire out Levan, specifically attack the wrist, and once he cracked the wrist, it would be game over for anyone. But the loss forced him to rethink his approach.
With Levan, I thought, okay, I will beat him through endurance. But the thing is arm wrestling is not, it's not what arm wrestling is. Ultimately, it is strength. It is always strength. It is always peak strength. What I should have done is, yes, okay, I will never be able to beat him in peak strength, but that doesn't change the fact that you need it. It's the most important thing.
After the loss, he would immediately start rehab, using stem cells to maximize recovery, and once his arm was in a condition where he could train, he would apply his philosophies. He would switch to 1 rep maxes, going for peak force output, and that would propel him for the final phase of his climb in the arm wrestling world. For many years, Devon Larratt had faced criticism for not competing against the European elite, ducking them, being scared of them. Devon was not happy about that, and he was ready to silence any doubts. His first major European test came against Evgeny Prudnyk, a powerhouse who had crushed Morozov, Tobias Sprong, Matt Mask, and Todd Hutchings, holding the heavyweight world title. November 19, 2022, East vs West 5. Here we go. First round out of straps, Evgeny explodes to the side, and Devon barely manages to escape, and they go to the straps. In straps, Evgeny fiercely drives. He gets very close to the pin pad, and Devon's bicep angle opens significantly. But the pronator stays locked, and with that, Devon cracks Evgeny's wrist. Evgeny is forced back to go to the center. Then he tries hitting again, but with every drive, the wrist gets more and more compromised. Evgeny attempts to press, and Devon is forced to go full-blown Kingsmove, maximizing the strength of his pronator while also utilizing his bone lock. Seconds go by until Devon gets called for a shoulder under the table. On the restart, Evgeny tries hitting again, but his wrist literally bounces off Devon's pronator. Devon secures the center and forces the match into a hook. He gets onto the A side, puts his shoulder behind, puts Prudnyk on his bicep, and Evgeny has no way out. 1-0 for Devon Larratt. Second round, Prudnyk drives more ferociously. However, Devon's open arm top roll manages to perfectly defend. Devon moves forward to engage more side pressure, he defends Evgeny's drives, gets it into a hook again, and Evgeny fouls. Restart, Devon gets it inside, and Evgeny tries top rolling Devon from there, but the containment from Devon Larratt is enough to stop Evgeny. The hook is secured, Devon puts the shoulder behind and gets the second pin. Third round, Devon keeps the pronator, keeps the shoulder close to maximize his side pressure. He then transitions outside, pronating out, and Evgeny barely holds. Devon then puts the shoulder behind, then Evgeny actually Kingsmoves and fouls. So they restart, and it's the same position. Prudnyk tries Kingsmoving again, trying to gain the height, and Devon baits. Evgeny's wrist gets completely cracked back, and Devon finally gets the pin and wins the match, obtaining the heavyweight title. Devon would continue with his demolition, moving back to his old battleground, ArmWars, where he would face Sandris Panzer, the reigning WAF heavyweight champion and ArmWars world champion. Sandris had recently dominated Matt Mask, a good friend of Devon and also a long-time rival who had very close battles with him. Sandris was entering in peak form, but Devon displayed that there are levels to this sport. Off the go, Devon maximizes his back pressure, pronation, and slowly Sandris' fundamentals collapse. Devon easily holds in the center. The riser, pronator, and the wrist of Sandris all start to slowly but surely fail. The Panzer then attempts to hook, but his effort gets completely blocked. Devon bleeds Sandris out and gets the pin.
You said you wouldn't quit, Sandris. I thought you said.
Second round out of straps, Sandris tries hooking, and Devon goes outside, almost top rolling Sandris outside of the straps. But they eventually slip and go to straps. Sandris tries hooking again. Devon completely blocks the attack. He then hits and wins. 2-0 Devon. Third round, Devon stops it, and Sandris again tries everything to set the hook, and Devon eventually lets Sandris. He allows Sandris to go there, but even in the hook, he is unable to do anything. Devon completely dominates and gets another round. 3-0. Fourth round, flash pin from Devon. After 4 rounds, the win is already secured. However, they still continue pulling. Devon wins in the 5th round, absolutely easily, and in the 6th round, out of straps, Devon completely controls everything Sandris tries. He bleeds him out, gets the win. Dominant sweep 6-0. Now these two athletes would also go on to face on the left, and there it was a lot more intense. Now this is the point where I believe I should start talking about pumpkin arm. The way of the giant pumpkin is a training method created by Devon Larratt, where he started observing pumpkins, and the pumpkin that would grow the largest would take away nutrients from the other pumpkins. So Devon observed this phenomena and decided to try that with his forearms. So basically he started training on his right arm, completely not caring about the left, only doing table time there. So his left was much weaker than the right. With that, let's see how the match went. First round, Sandris hits, and Devon's pronator stops the drive. It cracks the wrist of Sandris, but the bicep of Devon starts opening. Devon is forced to Kingsmove, his bicep getting more and more stretched open. Sandris switches to the press and eventually gets the pin on Devon. 1-0 for Sandris. Second round, Devon hits top roll. He secures the wrist again. He tries to get the shoulder behind. He doesn't manage to, so he keeps attacking with the top roll. With every drive, Devon attacks with the pronator, while also keeping in mind his arm angle staying closed enough. And eventually, he evens out the score. 1-1. Round 3, Sandris drives. Devon's fingers contain. He holds onto the fingers of Sandris. Sandris slips, and the straps are set. In straps, Devon secures the pronator again. Sandris' wrist completely gone. Devon tries to close the arm angle, tries to get the shoulder behind, eventually gets it and wins. However, since he was on a running foul, they are forced to restart. On the restart of the go, the same start again. Devon gets the wrist of Sandris, he tries to drive down, eventually gets the shoulder and gets another win. 2-1 for Devon. Round 4, right out of straps, Devon tries top rolling, and Sandris bails out. In the straps, Devon holds, but this time his arm opens up way more. Sandris managed to keep the pronator against Devon, and eventually gets to move to a press. Devon goes down with the shoulder into a full-blown Kingsmove and holds on to dear life. Sandris completely commits to the press, and Devon fouls. Another restart. Right off the go, Devon hits quickly with a press, confidently screaming, being sure that he has got the win. but Sandris stops it millimeters above the pin pad. He drags it out from the dead and quickly gets on the offensive. Devon's arm is now again absolutely completely opened up. He is in a Kingsmove. He tries to get the shoulder behind again, while Sandris repeatedly hits, doing everything in his power to get the pin on him, while Devon's bone lock is probably screaming. Eventually Devon Larratt manages to get the shoulder behind, and it's another pin for him, 3-1 Devon. Round 5, Devon hits out of the straps, quickly presses down, 4-1 Devon. 6th round, with even secured, Devon eases up a bit, and off the go, his back pressure gets completely opened up, and it's 4-2 Devon in the end. Having conquered the heavyweight division, Devon would move up back to the super heavyweights, and there he would face the Georgian general Genadi Kvikvinia. Genadi has had quite a few back and forth battles at King of the Table and East vs West. Ranked top 5 in the league, he is an arm wrestling veteran, known for his incredible spirit and mental strength, as well as being the last true person to beat Levan. It was clear that a war was about to take place. As I have previously mentioned, Devon's belief at the time was that if he was simply able to crack someone's wrist, it will be enough to win any match. But this battle, this war, would force his philosophies to change. In the first round, Devon's game plan works exactly as advertised, as he is immediately able to control the center with his pronator, making Genadi unable to cup him. He starts driving to the side, putting the shoulder behind his arm, engaging the tricep, putting Genadi into the worst possible position to tire him out. Then he receives a controversial elbow foul, and a restart. Even with that elbow foul, Devon seems to be in the driving seat, ready to take a clean win. But Genadi wouldn't give up that easily. On the restart, Genadi shoots forward with the shoulder, going for a flop, and Devon gets pushed off the back of the pad. This way, Genadi takes the first round. That's when Devon realized that there was more threat coming from Genadi, and because of that, off the go in the second round, he chooses to go inside to avoid the flop, a position he hasn't trained for some time. Still, he manages to get into a very efficient position. Then he tries to reverse out to can open, goes back with the shoulder, repositions to engage it even more, and eventually bleeds Genadi and takes the round. But that round caused a lot of wear and tear on both athletes. The score is 1-1. Third round, Devon sets up way forward, coming in for the press. And he gets it, 2-1 Devon. Devon is now again very confident, believing it's done. However, off the go in the fourth round, Genadi blasts with a flop and Devon's back pressure is unable to hold. 2-2, and we go to the silver bullet. Round 5. Both athletes set up as forward as possible. Genadi to engage the flop, Devon to maximize his side pressure. Ready go, and Genadi blasts with the press, but his palm hits the wrist of Devon. He is unable to go under his arm, but still, Devon just barely manages to drag it to his side. But he does, almost managing to pin Genadi in the process. But then the match gets turned inside. Devon presses the leg into the table to maximize his side pressure. He engages the shoulder, but Genadi has access to his arm. With Devon's arm being already gassed, Genadi drives, and he almost breaks Devon's arm in the process, who has to elbow forward. They restart, and off the go. It's a flash pin from Genadi Kvikvinia. Now, upon further analysis, something very interesting happens in this moment right here. We see Genadi first go without his wrist, but then regaining it right after. That happened because Devon guessed incorrectly where Genadi would take the match. He likely expected Genadi to hook, but Genadi flopped instead, and with that, Genadi secured the win. It was a win which was well deserved after an absolute war, but also highly controversial due to the aforementioned elbow foul. Devon took a lot from this match. He realized that simply relying on taking hand control in a match doesn't work, because an opponent can still force it arm on arm with a flop. That's why he would incorporate an inside game into his workout routine and also into his future matches. And a rematch between these two was due to take place as soon as possible. But before that, Devon Larratt would return to ArmWars, this time competing at the ArmWars Battleground, where he would absolutely smash Mindaugas Dulskas and Daniel Lundqvistanen. Right after, he would go on to face the Bulgarian legend Jordan Tsonev, and there he would receive the best left arm workout of his life. First round of the go, Jordan tries going inside, but a couple surges later, Devon's pronator takes the wrist of Tsonev. Tsonev then tries surging a few more times, even without the wrist. He actually manages to extend the bicep of Devon, but eventually he gives it up, and it's 1-0 for Devon Larratt. Second round, Tsonev explodes to the side. Devon takes the wrist again, but his bicep gets completely torn open, over and over again. With brutal explosivity, Tsonev tries everything in his power to get it done, to get deep in, and Devon barely manages to defend. However, Tsonev eventually gets tired and concedes. And it's now 2-0 for Devon. Third round, Tsonev hits inside. Devon cracks the wrist. He tells Tsonev to give up. But Jordan responds with absolutely ridiculous, insane drives, until he and Devon both elbow fall at the same time. On the restart, Tsonev tries flopping off the go, but Devon absorbs it and gets another round. 3-0. Fourth round, Tsonev again puts insane drives to get even. The bicep of Devon is absolutely dying. However, Devon then stands up. He puts the shoulder forward, gets inside, and manages to hold the power of Tsonev and win the match in a hook. 4-0 Devon Larratt. What a show. Now after having fun on the left, Devon would go back to business to the right arm. He'd go on to face easy money Dave Chaffee. Now remember how their match went the first time in 2019. There, Devon was completely unable to match the force of Dave, winning by the skin of his teeth by the dirtiest possible Kingsmove. With that in mind, let's take a look at how it went this time. First round, Devon applies a ton of pronation and back pressure right off the go, and immediately manages to crack the wrist of Dave. Dave tries hitting, he gets stopped, then tries going forward to regain the wrist, reverses out, tries pressing, but Devon contains it all. On the restart, Devon decides to test himself. Now if you'll recall, Devon changed up his training methods after his match with Genadi, and he decided to test the effectivity of the new training methods. Uncharacteristically, Devon comes inside and actually manages to set the hook against Dave. He engages the shoulder well, secures the center, and gets the win. Then another restart happens due to a foul for Devon. Dave surges, but Devon absorbs it in an outside lane and counters with pronation. 1-0 Devon. Second round, Devon goes outside. He cracks the wrist of Dave, holds Dave on the offense, and gets the pin. 2-0 Devon. Third round, even more uncommonly, Devon goes for a press, transitions into a shoulder engaged hook, sits there, waits to see what Dave does, but Dave has no lane to go to. There is nothing for him. 3-0 Devon. Fourth round is literally all for the memes. Devon goes for the Kingsmove, talking to Dave.
Yeah, equivalent size boy! Yeah, equivalent size boy!
Dave tries pressing, going through all the lanes. Devon can opens, gets it.
Control there, gives.
4-0. Now fifth round, Devon has already won and starts playing even more. He tries going for a flop press, but that proves to be a crucial mistake. Dave manages to catch Devon there and pulls him out of his position. He gets on the offensive and almost pins Larratt. Devon has to quickly transition outside, and he barely stops it, eventually bleeds out Dave and wins the round. But that was quite close, showing that their level may not even be that far apart, but Devon's ability to utilize his power is unbelievably proficient. Sixth round is for the memes again. This time it's a double Kingsmove from Devon and also from Dave. Some yapping takes place from the athletes.
Kings! There it is! They are both right under the table, crossing each other's legs.
Press.
And 75% of the people watching the pay-per-view have just thrown up at home.
Devon then closes his arm angle and gets a dominant win over Dave Chaffee. 6-0. This match showcased the progress Devon had made over the years. Since the match in 2019, he continued to refine his style and gain so much pure strength. It was unbelievable, and it was all put on display here. A month later, Devon would have some fun on the left arm again, crushing Sergei Kalenchenko, before going back to business again on the right. Now next up, Devon was supposed to go on to face Genadi Kvikvinia again, as there was some unfinished business from earlier. However, Genadi would go on to injure himself, and the organizers were forced to find a replacement. And the athlete who would eventually show up would be no other than the current #1 super heavyweight world champion at the time, Ermes Gasparini. Levan Saginashvili got injured in the middle of 2023, and Ermes would subsequently attain the super heavyweight title in a match against Johgi, technically crushing him 3-0. This match was a chance for Devon to get to the top once again, and he would come in ready. In the first round, the game plan of Devon is obvious. His goal is to take everything possible from Ermes in the setup, completely ruining his connection to the wrist. Ermes gets very uncomfortable with what Devon is doing, getting a foul for moving in a referee's grip, and then also for elbow fouling. That secures the first round for Devon.
And that is a pin for Devon. It was off the front of the pad, but more important.
Second round out of straps, we see Ermes' wrist cracking, and in the straps, Ermes gets fouled again for moving, and then on the restart, there is finally a proper ready go.
Devon closed first, here comes Ermes.
Go! On the way we go!
Ermes drives to the side, but Devon applies his classic pronating back pressure, and he swiftly cracks the wrist of Ermes Gasparini. With the wrist secured, Devon starts driving to the side. He closes his arm angle, engages his shoulder, and gets the win. 2-0 Devon. Third round out of straps. Ermes holds on to Devon and starts talking to him, wanting to go into the hook. Devon actually starts to slowly reposition himself inside, but it's a trick from Ermes, because Ermes then quickly rolls out and tries to stop rolling. However, Devon catches it, and eventually is back to center, and then they slip. They go to the straps, and there Devon explodes to the side, and Ermes has absolutely nothing to stop it. 3-0 Devon. Dominant win against the super heavyweight world champion. Just a year after losing to Levan, Devon was once again at the top of the world. After such a terrific result, Devon would again have fun on the left, this time facing Georgi Cvetkov, and I would like to analyze this match closely, as it was very technically interesting and much closer than what the score at the end said. First round in straps, Georgi hits to the top row, but his cup gets compromised by Devon's pronating back pressure. Georgi fouls, and it's a restart. Off another go, Georgi manages to keep the wrist better, but Devon puts surges to the side, his pronator holding rock strong, controlling the high ground. Even though Devon's wrist also starts getting compromised, his side pressure is enough to finish the round. 1-0 Devon. We don't normally see Devon pulling without wrist control, so we're seeing something completely different. It's a rarity to see him win without his hand. Second round, Georgi pronates really well and manages to fully take the wrist of Devon. Now Devon answers to the attack with surges to the side. Right after, he starts to apply a ton of force into his rise. The combination of pronation and rise from Devon forces Georgi to answer by rising as well, but the leverage, the natural structure of Devon Larratt's arms proves to be enough to get even as he simply rises over Georgi. He also out-endures Georgi and wins once again. 2-0 Devon. Third round, it's a massive drive from Georgi, absolutely killing the wrist of Devon. Devon is forced to fight with his riser and pronation alone, working on getting the high ground, the same tactic he utilized previous rounds. Georgi keeps hitting, working on opening the bicep of Devon. Devon waits for Georgi to gas out, and once he feels that there is an opening, he transitions to a flop, and he gets another pin. 3-0 from Devon. Also a lane we have not seen from Devon. The last time Devon attempted this on the right, he almost got absolutely cooked by Dave. So seeing him actually managing to get a flop is very impressive, showing a completely new lane for him. 3-0. Fourth round starts off with Georgi's massive back pressure drives. Devon's wrist once again buckles, and with that he realizes he needs to dive on the arm of Georgi right away, going for the flop of the go and actually getting a pin. But an elbow foul occurs before the pin, and they restart. On the restart in the fourth round, Georgi, again a massive drive, Devon's wrist completely done, holding barely on pronation and rise. Georgi tries driving, but Devon holds it in the Kingsmove. His arm starts opening, but Georgi gets tired before anything more can happen. Devon flops once he feels Georgi's weakening and gets the win of the full match. 4-0 Devon. Now ArmWars rules are based on pulling all 6 rounds. 5th round, Devon gets into the Kingsmove, holds Georgi purely on his pronator. His arm is getting horribly stretched open, but Georgi is simply unable to finish. Devon then brings it back to center, holds it there. He waits for Georgi to do anything, but there is nothing Georgi can give anymore. In the last round, Devon Kingsmoves again, and Georgi simply cannot get deep in. He cannot get through the joint lock and the pronator of Devon Larratt. 6-0, another win. Although it was not clean, it looks clean on paper when you look at the results. But it was a much closer match than what the score says. Now again, one more time, Devon would go to face an absolute monster on the right. This time his long-time nemesis from the past, Denis Cyplenkov. As I've already talked about before, Devon got absolutely destroyed by Denis in 2018 on the left, stating that on that day, Denis was likely 30% stronger than him. A right arm match between these athletes has never happened, even though they've been chasing it for 15 years. It was one of the most anticipated matches in the history of the sport. First round out of straps, Devon hits to the side, shoulder close to the arm, he gets on the offensive. But Denis smiles, he pronates and they slip. In straps, Denis puts a big drive to the back of the pad, applying a ton of back pressure as the former world record back pressure holder. Devon moves with him to the front of the pad, and then he starts piecing apart the weakness of Denis, the wrist. He starts hitting with his pronator, cracking the wrist of Denis and then going back to center. With every drive, Denis is forced to keep bringing it back. Devon's efficiency at this moment is much greater than Denis's, as Denis is forced to keep putting in maximum effort, whether he is going concentrically or eccentrically, whether his arm is getting opened or getting closed. Devon, on the other hand, is purposefully moving with his whole body, keeping the power isometric. Devon then engages with his shoulder, lays on top of Denis's arms, and then reverses out into a top roll to get the pin. 1-0 Devon. In the second round, right out of straps, Denis sets up shoulder forward. He attempts to get the cup, likely wanting to force it inside, and Devon takes advantage of that, knowing that he's very likely unhookable, and also knowing that since Denis is set up very forward, he wouldn't be able to apply as much back pressure to get a stop. Off the go, he hits hard, shoulder engaged hit with pronation intact, and it's a flash pin. 2-0 for Devon. The third round is the last chance for Denis to make any kind of comeback, but it proves to be a repeat of round number 1. Devon starts going on a relentless offensive, driving, going back, pumping the arm of Denis, who's getting ripped open again and again, whether it's the bicep or the wrist. Due to a foul, they go again, where Devon continues with the same technique.
It's the drive, the pronation is engaged and he takes control and centres again. Oh, get back on the match. Come on, what are you doing? Here we go. Big drive. Devon Larratt forces down, squeezes down. He's talking all the time to Denis Cyplenkov. Starts to come forward now, closes down the space, makes it go dark. He wants to put the pressure and the signature press into Denis Cyplenkov.
Even with all this damage, Denis is still fighting. He's not letting go, he's still fighting, he's still holding on.
And finishes the match 3-0 Devon. With that dominant statement, Devon has beaten one of his largest rivals, one of the strongest guys the sport has ever seen, in a absolutely one-sided fashion, not letting Denis get anything going in the match. Devon dictated everything, and it was clear he was constantly improving, reaching levels far above anything he has ever managed in the past. Just a month later, he'd continue with the absolutely incredible winning streak he built for himself, facing Georgi Svetkov on the right. The right arm of Georgi Svetkov is exponentially stronger than the left, but it's the same for Devon Larratt. First round, Devon's game plan was clear. Off the go, he utilized his incredible pronator, going to an open top roll, then even switching to a Kingsmove, and when Georgi hit, Devon would simply neutralize Georgi's wrist with the pronator. A Kingsmove is a lot more efficient than a normal open arm top roll, ton of additional rotational force that is not based purely on musculature. And in Devon's case, also a bone lock, which helps with not tiring out back pressure, as the arm simply cannot get fully opened due to joints. So Devon would simply wait in the Kingsmove for Georgi to tire out. And once Georgi did, Devon would stand up, he would engage the shoulder and pin. And the match basically looked the same all 4 rounds, with this exact strategy working over and over again. Another dominant win later, the path was now clear for the Canadian.
So Levan, last time you hurt me, but I haven't stopped. I'm at a different level now. If you're 3% worse, and I'm 3% better, I'm gonna destroy you. And who knows, even if you're better, I still might destroy you.
From the early days of the hook, through grueling matches, punishing losses and surgeries that tore him down and rebuilt him stronger, Devon had evolved. He had fought through pain, through doubt, through moments when he wondered if he could return. And now, standing atop the table, he claimed domination over both the heavyweight and super heavyweight divisions. Every lesson, every scar, every sacrifice culminated in this moment, and one question remained. Could he finally match Levan Saginashvili? Last time it wasn't close. Levan smashed Devon, tore his bicep, but Devon learned from the loss. He gained a ton of experience, adapted, destroyed athlete after athlete after athlete, and he felt that this time he truly has a chance. He will succeed. April 20th, 2024.
Ladies and gentlemen, look upon the Georgian Hulk, East versus West, super heavyweight champion of the world. For some, there are no limits.
First round, after a long setup game, it's a clean slip. In the straps, both athletes set up for the reversal.
Those micro movements will be everything!
Incomprehensibly, Devon manages to stop Levan in the center. Levan attempts to attack right off the go, but his wrist begins to crack. Stonewalled. A deadlock forms, each waiting for the other to make the first decisive moves, and Devon then strikes first. Levan responds right away, driving sideways, even with his wrist starting to bend back more and more. But he puts Devon on the B side, and once he has him there, he transitions to a flop press. Devon actually manages to hold the flop, but he fouls for shoulder under the table. It is a round 1 loss, but it seems like Devon has good chances of actually getting it done. Round 2.
Now, Saginashvili will be last. We will go into the strap match, no surprise there. Saginashvili is wrapped first. What's going to start now? Underway we go!
Ready go, and Levan blasts to his side, flush pinning Devon. Round 3 and 4, the same story. But how? If the first round looked so dominant and so hopeful for Devon, with Devon being known for his endurance, how could this have happened? I believe that a closer analysis explains it. Devon's arm angle in the first round started around 90 degrees. It's the perfect position for strong back pressure. However, as the round progressed, his angle opened up to roughly 130 degrees. And when Levan executed the flop, he fully stretched out the bicep angle of Devon. And I believe that with that, the elastic limit of Devon's tissues was broken, with micro tears forming and fatigue in his arms setting in. After that, Devon was simply unable to hold the same angle he did in the first round. There was also another likely reason for why Devon wasn't fully able to match Levan. After facing Michael in 2021, where Devon weighed around 295 pounds, he struggled to maintain his weight. And by the day of the rematch with Levan, he weighed only 260 pounds, which is a significant disadvantage. Despite decimating every opponent leading up to this, Levan is simply on a whole another level. It's another crushing loss, but here's the thing. The more you break Devon, the stronger he comes back. After the loss, Devon would go on to reach new levels once again. He first slimmed down to obtain the light heavyweight world title against Oleg Petrenko. That same night, he also cracked Morozov in a practice round. Larratt further went back to super heavyweight, for the first time in his career crossing 300 pounds, to take revenge and crush Genadi Kvikvinia in a rematch. Next up, he would also go on to destroy Alex Kurdecha and Corey West. And this is so far where the story with Devon ends. Now what is next for him? Well, he has a huge up-and-coming match coming against Vitaly Lelatin. It's a match that should have taken place a long time ago in my opinion, as Vitaly is one of the few athletes who exposes a stylistic weakness of Devon. Talking about weaknesses, let's discuss the style, strengths and weaknesses of Devon Larratt. Devon Larratt is incredibly versatile. He can attack in various angles in various ways, but his primary weapon is currently based on cracking his opponent's wrist. This means that Devon doesn't have a problem with losing the center from the start, as long as he obtains the hand control. He tends to first absorb his opponent's hit, concede early position and settle onto the B side, where he patiently waits for the opponent's wrist to give out. In the straps, his endurance and pronation make him almost impossible to overcome, but there have been athletes who have succeeded. The largest weakness of Devon Larratt is his back pressure. Devon's arm angle tends to get open. We've seen this issue exposed mainly on the left, but on the right it has happened to him as well. As demonstrated in the past, this problem gets exposed by opponents engaging in a flop. Genadi managed to flop Devon and Alex stretched Devon out completely in their first match. Due to these issues, Devon has redeveloped his inside game, where he can force their opponents in a hook if they're trying to flop him. In the second Genadi-Devon match, Larratt utilized his hook press style, as he knew that he would be vulnerable to a flop if he went outside. And another possible weakness of Devon Larratt seems to be against long arm top rollers. Devon's technique works so well due to having an unusually long forearm, which forces more pressure onto his opponent's fingers. And an upcoming opponent for Devon is of course Vitaly Lelatin, as we've already talked about. An athlete whose forearm is likely largest in the whole sport. That will likely force Devon to apply his wrist kickback technique, the same stuff he used against Alex on the right. Now Vitaly's hit is dangerous. It relies on immense leveraged side pressure. And I believe the main place where the match will take place is a few millimeters above the pin pad. Devon's mission will be to crack Vitaly's wrist before getting pinned, using the kickback and hoping his arm stays under control, because if it doesn't, Vitaly's power could take over. It may take a few rounds before Devon finds the opening, but once he does, I believe Vitaly will have limited options. If the wrist of Vitaly gets cracked, he might attempt a flop, but even then, it's hard to see him securing a pin. Another possibility is Devon going inside to force the hook, but while his reach is impressive, sucking Vitaly's forearm inside wouldn't be easy. Beyond Vitaly, Levan Saginashvili remains the ultimate test. Should Devon beat Vitaly, facing Levan will demand perfect hand control, just like last time, but even more challenging due to Levan's continued improvement. Devon also must maintain a tight arm angle. The slightest opening could let Levan flop him, leaving Devon no chance but to risk a foul just to survive, dropping his shoulder under the table. The story of Devon Larratt has been incredible, and the evolution of his technical approach has been really fascinating to watch. From a primarily inside puller with immense side pressure who was gradually slowly developing his top roll, He has evolved into an arm wrestler capable of cracking the wrist of nearly anyone in the world, relying primarily on his supreme pronator strength and his rise simply taking the match outside. Now, whether or not he ever conquers Levan or Vitaly, only future will tell, but one thing is clear, you can never count Devon out. As for some men, there are truly no limits.